Let's before we get into WA, the question is the one that we won't know until we know, of course. But is this the last 2 weeks of Julia Gillard's prime ministership? I mean, you read all the same articles that are all very definite that something will be happening in the next 2 weeks. The suggestion from Alex Hart and others this evening in the 6 p.m. newses was, well, this is the last chance before they get the chance to have a run. And then there was this opinion poll in the Galaxy, which was put out in News Limited Press today. I'll show you once more. Now, this figure that you're seeing is the composite of Liberal and Labor voters about who their preference is to be the leader of the Labor Party. But basically, the idea that basically any way you go, you're stuffed because 2/3 of people disagree with whatever decision you're going to make. Now, Jason, we won't know till we know, but do you get any feeling, any sense, any idea?
I mean, it's a raffle, isn't it? I mean, and if you're going to do it, you do it when everyone's together, which is obvious, but that is so revealing. And I think that spells out largely what your correspondent from Western Australia was saying. I mean, you've got this situation where it kind of actually doesn't matter which way they go. There's a view if it was Rudd, there's a view if it was Gillard. It was tested with the people and, okay, with other factors thrown into it too. But when people go to vote, they go to express an emotion sometimes, and that emotion was expressed. The country is, I believe, seemingly waiting to express this. And given the choice of one or another, I don't think it's going to matter that much.
I mean, my thing, Mike, is that, I've said many times before, it's the same reason why it was a bad idea to knife Kevin Rudd the first time around, is that it's up to us to hire and fire a Prime Minister. But I live in yesterday's world, because the new world is who's going to help us at the election. We know this one's coming up in September. If you're a Labor MP, it is damned if you do, damned if you don't either way, because you've got a current Prime Minister so unpopular she can't turn up in a joint that still gets smashed essentially 2-1 in Western Australia. And then you have Kevin Rudd, who 2/3 of the people in that opinion poll don't want as PM at all.
Well, look, the way I see it, it's almost worse than that, in that people don't care anymore. You know from your work, saying the name Gillard doesn't even inspire the haters anymore. They just don't care. Okay. So we have all these brave little soldiers saying, no, 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 we're going to stick with her, you know, it's okay, we can turn it around. At what point do they stop being brave little soldiers and become Baghdad Bob?
Yeah.
And we just laugh at them. Yeah. So I figure if they want to energise any kind of interest in what the Labor Party is doing, they will have to put somebody else in there just for that reason.
Well, and that's the is the someone else, is that if you're a Labor MP, Jason, all right, and let's just imagine that for a moment, is that you're a Labor MP, you've got this 2-week window and you've got to make a choice. What do you do? Is the best interests to say, look, we need to move on from the soap opera and find the night watchman, say you Stephen Smith, who fights on, gets the backside and then goes and, as Joe was suggesting, could lead state Labor? Is it a Simon Crean, who's a nice enough gentleman who's taken on the unions in the past? Or do you stick with what you're going because you want to be loyal to the end?
If you know you're knackered, I would hope you'd think about what matters, and that's the country. And I would hope you'd look for someone who is going to be able to provide some kind of mature approach as we bat it out to the end. Unfortunately, we've got people who are pretending that they're governing right now, who are throwing money around and doing things and acting in a manner that makes people think that they're trying to play the game, but they're just, I mean, the borrowings are extraordinary and continue to mount up, and there seems not to be, I think, any sense at all that what's going on right now is for the best of the country. It's about saving people's behinds. If I were, and let's pick one bloke who, you know, I think a decent man in Ed Husic, who is looking down the barrel of having his seat knocked out, not because he's a bad MP, or even Bradbury. I mean, I hear people in Penrith tell me Bradbury's a reasonable MP, but they cannot ever bring themselves to vote for him back in again, because they know that the ramifications of that is, even though they like the man, they know that that is a vote for that, and they don't like that. I mean, I feel for these blokes, particularly Husic, who knows that there should be a change. Sure. He knows, because his public tell him that Julia Gillard's not the solution to the country. But I would think, and I'd love Ed to be sitting there, because I'd love to know if he thinks that Kevin Rudd would be that solution to the country, or would it be Mr. Question Mark? Because genuinely, as we stand at the moment, it just feels like that the people running it right now are not running it with respect for what's best for Australia. They're running it for saving a few hides here and there. Well,